Yeah. I think I wrote one time about you that every vibe emanates from the blues. Would that be true?
Yes.
To say?
Absolutely.
Where does the jazz and blues connect in your musical soul?
Well, I mean,
or how do they connect?
You know, there's a real connection if you go back historically, of course.
Sure.
1930s, 1940s, 1920s.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Bessie Smith and Count Basie and early jazz and blues were very, you know, the early Dinah Washington and all those singers, the jump singers and Big Joe Turner. So, but, well, I've played real jazz and spent a lot of time in that genre, and I love that genre, but I don't really want to play that music exactly. So I know about this stuff.
Right.
But I choose to express myself in terms of blues because that's what I feel the most. That's what's meaningful to me. Basically, you know, when I started my band a long time ago, I wanted it to be everything is coming from rhythmically and harmonically and especially emotionally a blues place. And the idea that I know about country music and jazz and various things, and maybe I could go some places while still maintaining a blues
foundation?
Yeah, just a blues point of view.
Essence.
I mean, and I think you can hear that everything's really, you know, is coming from there, the melodies and just the attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think it is, the attitude.
That's right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But I'm not afraid to venture.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't want it to, and I don't really let it go past a certain point because then I'm not really comfortable with what it's saying.
Right.
And, you know, when I used to have saxophone players in this band, which was the first few albums, I kind of had to rein them in sometimes on some of the recordings because, and again, I was the composer, so I felt it was okay. You know, some people say, "Oh, you can't tell them what to play."
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of.
Yeah, because I'm the boss.
So I didn't want to hear Coltrane licks on a certain tune of mine because that just wasn't what it was about.
Right.
And so, just like I take my vision like this occasionally for the gigs I do. But yeah, so I think that if you have the foundation, the rhythm, and the attitude of blues and the feeling of it, that people will still have something to grab onto and enjoy that are blues fans, even if it takes them on a little trip.
Yeah.
That someplace where they might not go normally.
Right. How do you get that attitude across in your teaching at Berkeley? You were doing a lot of teaching there, right?
I taught there for 14 years. Yeah.
And that's a pretty strict music school?
Well, most of the people that, I mean, I was teaching a blues history class that I created for the school, which was really fun. I learned a lot about country blues and stuff.
Sure.
It was wonderful. And I taught some other things. I taught private lessons. Most of the private lesson students wanted to study with me because they knew that I played blues, which very few of the teachers there really do. But yeah, there was, you know, all these requirements of you have to do these kinds of scales, 4 octaves, and you have to do a classical piece of a certain level. And so I helped them prepare for all that stuff, as well as you know, the stuff that they were really interested in.
Yeah, this sounds like Ralph Macchio in Crossroads, you know? He's at Juilliard learning his scales, and then he goes out and plays Robert Johnson.
All, you know, it all kind of goes together.
Yeah.
And I taught harmony there, which was kind of jazz harmony more than anything else. And I love teaching there, actually.
Well, here's the stupidest question you've ever had. When do you learn not to look at a piano when you're playing a boogie woogie? I watch Mitch Woods, I watch Gene Taylor, I watch Honey, Marcia, you, Dave Maxwell, and it's like Ann Rabson. When do you learn?
Probably about the 3 millionth time you play it, I think, is probably around that 3 million. I don't have to look.
Yeah.
No, you know, I mean, after you've been playing, I mean, I don't have, you know, blind people play piano.
Yeah.
I don't have to look at all. I can even make leaps. You know, I will look because I can, but I don't. I can play without looking completely.
And not worried about hitting 2 keys.
Not really.
Okay.
No, but the boogie woogie thing, I've had people mention that, and I don't know. You just do it a lot. You know, I had Berkeley students, and they'd say, "How do you do that?" And I'd say, "Do it a million times and come back and talk to me."
Yeah, it's like muscle memory, right? The left hand is just doing that pattern over and over.
Yeah. Until you get to the point, you know, I would like illustrate to them. I could do that, read the New York Times, and talk to them at the same time.
Oh, I'll tell you, one of my earliest memories, and it's probably the thing that I just fell in love with music, was my dad or my grandparents had a '78. This would have been the mid-'50s, and it was a boogie woogie piano while they told the story of Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh wow!
And I couldn't get enough of that. Wow. I know, and you know, of course, that was the wolf, you know, and I just remember playing that '78 over and over.
I wish I would have heard that when I was a kid.
Oh, I wish I knew what it was now. But that, I find when I hear that boogie woogie piano, that just brings me right back and right in.
Yeah, there's something about it. I mean, I started playing classical piano when I was 5.
Yeah.
But when I was 10, I heard some boogie woogie piano, and I was just flabbergasted. And I studied a little bit with a guy at a music store, for a few lessons, and I just went crazy over that music, you know.
Yeah.
Mead Lux Lewis. And
Right.
wow.
Right. So originally you were a classical player then.
Yes.
And did you start playing blues piano after you heard it, or was it kind of like your students playing the classical piano and then doing the boogie woogie blues on the side?
Well, I was doing the blues on the side because I kept doing the classical piano. I didn't really mention the blues to my very strict classical piano teacher.
Yeah.
But I heard it, you know, I heard it when I was like 10 years old for the first time, and I heard Bessie Smith, and I heard some of the boogie woogie guys, and I just started trying to figure this out on my own.
Wow.
And so I was playing on the side, trying to figure out how to play some like early Dixieland piano and what is that blues stuff, and just kind of, I didn't know anything about, I could read music, but I didn't really know any theory or really understanding. I was playing the notes, so I didn't have any knowledge of like, these are the chords that make blues. I was just blindly trying to figure it out, and that's what I kept doing for quite a while.
Wow, sure.
While I was still taking the classical lessons.
Yeah.
And it was great because, I mean, the classical lessons gave me a lot of chops.
Yes.
And so when I started to play blues and in some rock bands and whatever, I could play anything I wanted to. I didn't have to struggle, you know, technically.
Yeah.
Like at Berkeley, I had some very talented students that didn't have the background or the ability to really execute, and they had all these ideas and they couldn't really play physically play that well. So it's, you know, it's like anything, you know. I would tell my students, like, do all these exercises because they're going to make you free.
Yeah.
You know, they'd say, you know, I just want to be free to like be creative. I said, do all this, and then you will be free.
That's right. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Well, back when you were growing up, I'm sure guitar gods were out in front of everybody. Who were you looking to learn how to play piano besides records or on records? Or were they easy to find?
I was listening to records. You know, the funny thing is, I found myself at first kind of trying to copy guitar players with my right hand.
Oh, wow.
And I was listening to like Eric Clapton and John Mayall and Mike Bloomfield and trying to play some of their lines
on the keyboard,
on the piano, because that's what I was hearing more of. Even though because I was hearing early swing and Dixieland and some of that, and I loved that stride stuff. But yeah, I mean, then I eventually heard the right people, like Otis Spann and some of those guys. I heard people that I didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
And you know, even though I was hearing the really early blues and jazz, I sort of came to electric Chicago blues through the British guys more than, you know, or Paul Butterfield.
That's right. And there's such a great rich tradition of that within that genre of, you know, you mentioned Otis Spann, but there's Sunnyland Slim and Roosevelt Sykes. You know, those guys are just wonderful.
Fantastic,
Little Brother
amazing.
Montgomery.
Yeah, Memphis Slim.
Yeah, Memphis Slim. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah.
So just like a guitar player has to learn this language, country blues, electric Chicago, Texas blues, Piedmont, as a piano player, to understand the blues idiom, you have to learn a ton of different styles, or be
I think
conversant
so.
in them.
Otherwise, you're going to be kind of a little one-dimensional.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and
Lloyd Glenn out on the West
yeah,
Coast.
Lloyd Glenn. Well, the jazz influence.
Yeah, yeah.
Charles Brown.
Charles Brown. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean the fact that I then, like when I was in my early to mid 20s, I really jumped into jazz stuff.
Yeah.
I think also opened up a lot of things. I mean, you know, it's kind of funny. When I was really playing a lot of jazz, people in Boston knew me as this jazz player who's very bluesy.
Okay.
And then when I was playing blues, it was like, oh, the blues player is very jazzy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of styles and beautiful
Yeah.
chords involved. You know,
Yeah.
if you only really do focus on a certain electric kind of piano playing, it can be a little one-dimensional, not a lot of richness of harmony.
Yeah.
And if you go back and you listen to Count Basie and
God.
some of the really earlier guys like
Duke Ellington.
well,
Yeah.
I'm the
Further
early
back.
Barrel House guys.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were playing. I'm just spacing, you know, whistling Alex Moore or Jimmy Yancey.
Oh
or,
yeah, that's right. Sure.
They played in the language of the 20s all these chords that disappeared later in the 50s and
Wow.
60s. You know,
That's- yeah.
kind of these beautiful chords. Or I'm really into the New Orleans guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have a lot of beautiful harmony.
Right.
And they're coming from like James Johnson, you know, James
Yeah,
P.
P.
Johnson,
Johnson,
and the harmony, like when you hear James Booker, he's echoing.
Jelly Roll Morton.
Yes, Jelly Roll Morton,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that stuff has the rhythms and the harmony. So,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that I would teach my students at Berkeley a lot was,
Yeah.
okay, here's a 3-chord 12-bar blues that you can work like 9 other chords into
Right.
and still have it be that 3-chord blues.
Oh.
These beautiful passing chords that you'll hear Otis Spann using them.
Yeah.
But sometimes people put on a thing and they only play the 3 chords.
Sure.
And you know, there's a lot of harmonic movement within it that can be really beautiful and expressive.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're still playing the 3 chords.
Right, right.
You're just passing through this
I
other
love
stuff,
that. Yeah.
which comes from the historic.
That's very
I
cool.
think, yeah.
How easy is it to go from piano to the B3?
Well, it was easy for me.
Yeah.
But I think that's unusual. I mean,
Okay.
I was playing piano for a long time. I didn't start playing B3 till I was like 28.
Uh-huh.
And the minute that I played it, I just felt this affinity for it,
Yeah.
even though it's very, very different.
Right.
The touch is completely different. There's no sustain pedal. You're making sounds with drawbars. It doesn't sustain by itself. You know, piano, you hit a chord and it rings.
Right.
And, you have to play it very, very differently.
Yeah.
And somehow I just immediately took to it and felt natural for me to play. Whereas
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of Hammond players that really don't like playing piano. And,
Right.
And a lot of piano players that are mystified by the organ.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think modern days there's more people like myself that can do both.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I found it very natural. And I remember when I was a kid, seeing like Mahalia Jackson on TV.
Uh-huh.
You know, like my parents, and was sitting there, and Mahalia Jackson's at the White House, and I'm hearing that B3 for the first time
Yeah.
because they didn't have it at my synagogue.
Right.
And and I'm going, wow,
Yeah,
that's
what a
cool.
sound.
But I never got a chance to play one until later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Bruce, thank you very much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see a great show following this interview with Bruce Katz and his band on all manner of keyboards. Once again, this is Don Odell's Legends, and thank you very much.